All right. So, Sarah, give me an overview of Too Good to Go, and how did you get started, or how did you come up with it? Well, first of all, are you the founder of this?
No, I wish.
Okay.
We were actually founded in Copenhagen, Denmark, by a series of people. So our founding story is an interesting one because it's not your typical like spark of an idea and then this all came to be. One of our founders was very frustrated with the amount of food waste he was seeing, and he would actually wait outside grocery stores at night and see them throwing out perfectly edible food, and he would say, "Why can't I just have it?" Due to a lot of restrictions around handling of food and what you can do with it. They couldn't legally give it to him, so he would legitimately dumpster dive. Concurrently, another one of our founders was working for Nestle and saw a tremendous amount of waste happening, and Kit Kat specifically. So anytime a Kit Kat didn't have the exact right imprint of the Kit Kat name, it would be thrown away. And so she was completely outraged by that and figured there has to be a better way. Similarly, there were a couple people in Copenhagen who were working on an idea to monetize food waste. All of these things were kind of happening together and did come together to create Too Good to Go, which at first was really just supposed to be a platform to allow businesses an avenue to reduce their food waste. It was actually as we started speaking with businesses, local businesses in Copenhagen, who said, like, well, what I want is a way to monetize it. I put resourcing into it, I paid for it, I put time into it. So me just giving it to you to give to someone else doesn't really help me. I do want a way for there to be some way that I can make some money off of that. So that's where the both reduction of surplus food waste for environmental reasons and also the monetary side kind of came together. At first, it was a web-based platform, which didn't last long because it's physically difficult to bring your computer into stores and say, hey, sign up with us. So it did become an app, and the app went live in the App Store in December of 2015. We launched then in 16 countries across Europe, came to Canada in 2021, the US in 2021, and now we are live in 27 cities across the US, 15 states, but we are continuously expanding. So we will be live nationally in the next, months and years. We're launching about 8 more cities in the next 2 months, and then we'll have another round toward the end of the year as well.
Well, I think you had me at Kit Kat, because now I just want a chocolate bar. I'm in the middle of a
Me
diet right now. Not a diet. I'm on a middle of a fitness program, a rebody
too.
composition here, and I would love a chocolate bar right now. So, thanks a lot for that. You have my mouth salivating. Um, One of the great things that I noticed was how easy the app is to use. How does that go into kind of your success and your growth of just making it super convenient and really easy for people to find and get discounts on the norm, like the same food that they would buy or pick up from a normal fast food restaurant?
Yeah, I'm happy to hear that you do find it intuitive and easy to use. That's always the goal. There's a lot that goes into it, and the app is always iterating, it's always updating. You'll notice if you've had it for a couple months, there's constantly an app update. And I think before I worked for an app based company, I never really understood why apps were doing so many updates. And now I understand that we can't stay static. There has to be an adoption for feedback from consumers, making sure that we're giving updated information so people can use it effectively. When the app has gone through so many changes, I don't even remember what it looked like when I joined, but I actually started with the company before the app was available in my market. So it was very abstract. We had no idea how it worked, what the functionality was. We understood the concept, of course, but we were selling it into stores without being able to show them a physical platform or a product. What it really wants to do, what the app's goal is to make it super simple for you to find that surplus food and to make it really easy for businesses to have different versions of the surplus food on the app, different times of day they can pick it up, and have a lot of transparency for them so that it doesn't become another hassle of a thing they have to do at the end of the day as they're closing. We don't want them to have to use another platform, a POS system, hire someone new. And that's also the reason behind the surprise bag product, which is our core offering. We know that food waste is really unpredictable. You're not going to know throughout the course of the day exactly what surplus you have, because if you did, then you wouldn't produce that food. So every day changes, which is why we have a surprise bag, which allows businesses to be flexible with the surplus that they have on that given day, or even multiple times throughout that day. And to do that, we also wanted to give them the flexibility and the freedom to change some of the descriptions in app, change the pickup window. Say you have a huge rush from like 9 to 11 a.m., but you had 5 bags on the app. You have to be able to pull those down because you don't want to produce more food to create more waste just to sell it on the app. So there's a lot of things that have gone into it. We've been live for about 6 years now. So we do have a good amount of both European, North American, small town, big town, rural, city, all of that kind of experience and what works best where. And the app will never be a finished product. We will always be adding into it. There's feedback we get from consumers about, I want more descriptions, or I want more photos, or ratings were a thing that I think got added a couple of years ago because people wanted something to vet the products that they were going to purchase. So all of that is super helpful. And we do encourage users, you don't have to, but at the end of your pickup, you can answer a series of questions. It does help us to optimize the app better. So it prompts you to say, what did you get in your bag? So the more info you give there, that gets then categorized so we can put more info into the description. It will ask you, did you buy anything else in store? Would you consider shopping here again? Was this your first time? Have you used the app previously? So it gives us a little bit more insight. We're always looking to get smarter so that we can provide a better service for both ends for our consumer base.
And you're a for-profit business that's doing good in the world, right? And that's a great thing. Who is your target market for the app to help eliminate the food waste?
Well, you're going to hate this answer because the answer is everybody. We really truly believe that our consumer is everyone. We are a for-profit business. We do believe, so we take a flat fee off of every transaction. It varies per market, but it always rounds out to somewhere just under $2. So that means that the store can optimize for themselves. So if they have a bag on the app for $2.99, if they have a bag on the app for $9.99, that fee that they pay to us does not change. So if they want to work the system so that it makes more sense for them to have more bags on or higher value bags on, it's completely within their right to do so. We firmly believe, and this is one of the things that our CEO is, I'd say, an evangelist of, is that businesses should be profitable while also having a mandate that is core within what they do to do good. So these things shouldn't be in contrast with one another. A lot of for-profit businesses embed, CSR strategies and ESG strategies and things that are going to have an eventual good end, but it's a side project or it's something that isn't core to what they do. And we think the reverse should be true, that embedded within the work you do should be a profitable end for you and a profitable end for, in our case, the environment, but also for human good, development, and progressivism. And so that's one of the core things that we think about. We don't partner only with businesses who have that same ethos, because food waste happens at every level. So we do have to be cognizant of the fact that we might partner with some B Corps. We're a registered B Corp as well, which is fantastic. We know that they are holding themselves to the highest environmental standards, but we also were going to partner with convenience stores at gas stations because they have surplus waste. So we do really have to be inclusive of that mindset as well. Our core consumer is really anybody who's looking to reduce waste, but at the same time, we might have different motivations. So some consumers might come to us because they are highly sustainably minded. So they might be very motivated to reduce their carbon footprint. They might be very well versed on the CO2 emissions and the impact of food waste on the environment. And that's fantastic that the offset for them is they're getting great food at a discount. Similarly, we might have consumers who come to us because they are very economically focused. So they might be looking for lower cost groceries. They might be looking for ways to travel while not spending tons and tons of money. But the result for them is ultimately they are doing something that's sustainable as well. We see a lot of college students, obviously, which makes sense because they're looking for lower cost items. We also see a lot of people who live in city centers who are on the go, so they can pick things up on their way to and from work or the gym or picking their kids up. Even, my parents live in Austin, Texas, one of our great hubs, and they're retired, but they love to pick up from the app because they can pick up in the middle of the day and they have more flexibility and freedom. So I'm not kind of giving you a runaround when I say it's everybody. There is an entry point for everybody to use the app. And the great thing about it is so personalized to your city, to your region, and to you that you can really make it work for you.
Well, it's a breath of fresh air hearing you say that. And one of the things that I do is I help nonprofits scale to, $1 million a year in donations. And part of that is getting them to think like a for-profit business, because you need to think like a for-profit business if you even want your nonprofit to grow and scale. So having a for-profit business that thinks that, hey, we still want to do good, but we still need to make a profit because it's going to help us expand our mission and what we're actually doing to improve the environment and lower the food waste. It's definitely something that, everybody can kind of get behind. And I think also for-profit businesses that have that mindset grow faster because, more people want to support them, even though they know that they're a for-profit business. They know the mission behind it and what they're doing with it. And it's not, more than likely, the profits are getting reinvested right back into the company so that they can expand their footprint and provide a bigger impact to the world. So it's definitely not something to, be afraid to say. And I even tell my nonprofit clients, like, hey, it's okay. Like, making money is a good thing. Like, don't think of it as a taboo word where you don't want to show a profit. It's like, yeah, you want a profit so you can have run rate and focus on, expanding and growing your mission so that it just doesn't fizzle out after a couple of years.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I mean, our goal, our kind of like guiding light is to create a planet with no food waste. And we can't do that if we don't expand, because it's not feasible if you're only operating in 17 markets. We just launched Czechia this month, and we've been launching Australia next year. So our goal is to really be a worldwide company. And to do that, you're exactly correct. It's great for us to be able to turn a profit, but the purpose of it is to be able to continuously fund ourselves to continue that expansion. We have been expanding rapidly. We last year reached a milestone of saving more than 300 million meals to date. So that sounds like a fake number because it feels very overwhelming and daunting. That's across all of our markets, and that's since we have been live. In the US, we have saved more than 11 million meals from going to waste since we have been live, and that's a fantastic milestone for us as well, because we are not yet live in every state. So we're really seeing that progression. Last year alone in the US, we saved more meals just in 2023 than we had in the 3 years previously combined. So we are seeing that trajectory really continue. The importance for us, obviously, is continuously. The main metric that we measure is the meals saved. Last year, globally, we saved 121 million meals across all of our markets. So we are really seeing that impact continue to grow. We save about 3 meals a second, which is great. But 40,000 meals a second go to waste. So that progress is fantastic, but there's the hurdles that we have to get to really combat the problem continuously feel a bit overwhelming. The progress that we've made is very uplifting. We have more than 19,000 partners across the country. We have saved more than $113 million for consumers. So that's money that they would have paid full price for. They've got savings on the app. And we've helped businesses earn more than $36 million on food they'd otherwise throw away. So this isn't food that they're reproducing and selling at a discount. It's truly food that would have gone into the garbage. We know that food waste is a huge contributor of greenhouse gas emissions. It accounts for about 10% of all greenhouse gas emissions globally. For reference, flight travel only accounts for 1%. So it's one of those things where we think, well, it's not that big of a deal if I throw out this avocado or half of this banana. We do it so many times throughout the day, especially in developed countries and wealthy countries, because our access to food is so high, and we haven't really, it's been, centuries and decades since we've had that connection to the food. The work that we're working to do is really not to make people feel as though there's this massive sacrifice they have to take and they need to make these systemic changes or need to overhaul their lives and take so many risks, but really just to think more consciously about the food that you do waste every single day at every point that you waste it. So when you purchase it at the grocery store, when you're cooking at home, and when you dine out. And this is one solution to help mitigate that problem. We are seeing globally that there is obviously a need for us to be able to redistribute some of the surplus food that we have, and also that we can't really ignore the climate implications of the food waste as well. So what seems like a small act really has huge implications multiple times a day.
It's just, it just takes one small act by a lot of people to really make a big change. And it's definitely something, as long as you can make it easy to do, people can easily adopt to it. How do you onboard and maintain the partnerships with restaurants in stores that you bring on board?
So you've heard me say a couple of times, we have only launched in 27 cities. What that means is we've officially entered into those markets, physically walked into stores and signed them. Our first method of onboarding a store is to do market development in that region. So in February, we launched across Colorado. What that meant was our sales team went to Denver and Boulder for about 4 weeks. They had a great mapping and a list of stores that they wanted to target and go after based on regions. We usually like to start in more dense urban centers because there is a higher volume of stores there and a higher volume of people, but then we'll spread out from the urban centers. We'll physically go into stores. The first question we ask is, how much food waste do you have? And the response that we get is always in a dollar amount. So businesses will always say, I throw out $500 a week. I throw out $700 a week. So they know, they're already clocking this. This is a huge problem in the food selling business, especially for markets where the margin is super tight for food sellers. So they're so conscious and aware of the work that goes into that and then gets wasted. So physically, we go into stores. Once we've launched in a market, we then do marketing support. My job is to lead PR. So we do a ton of earned media, I do a ton of interviews. I talk to the press every day. We're always sharing messages about local businesses that have food waste reduction strategies, pulling in some ingenuity from ideas that we never even thought of ourselves, of, a business that takes their day old banana and turns it into banana bread, or turns something into bread pudding, and other things that they've been doing historically in store that they don't talk about either. We love to elevate those stories. We do basically no paid media. So we don't do any paid advertising. We do everything in our app. We do send out a lot of, if you sign up for our CRM and our push notifications, you will get updates there. And we do a ton across our Instagram. Our channels are very highly engaged because people tend to be very passionate about the issue of food waste. So we share a lot there on tips and tricks on how to reduce food waste, what you can do to extend the life of your food. We also have a lot of consumers who are sharing what they've got in bags, which allows for people to really get an insight into what they're seeing. So all that's kind of our grassroots outreach, our promotion. Once we are live in a market, we will then continuously call new stores. Just because we've launched doesn't mean you've missed the boat if you are a store. You can always go to our site and join that way as well. So if you haven't been reached out to, that opportunity is available to you. You input your info, someone can onboard you remotely. When we are entering into new markets, we also obviously love to work with larger chains, which do help to have that kind of anchor into that market. So the grocery store sector is a huge one for us. Obviously, the volume of food waste at the grocery store is really overwhelming. So the more chains we can work with, the better we're able to really expand more rapidly throughout the country. And from there, we do a ton of work to continuously hone those markets that we've already been live in via PR, via marketing. We do a lot of elevating the local stories that will help people to not feel as though we're just a foreign entity coming in and telling them how they should reduce their waste, because it is such a local experience. We're a global app, but the experience that you experience on your phone is kind of hyper local to what you're seeing, even to your neighborhood. When I go into the office, the stores that are on the app are completely different than the ones that are close to my home. So everything is so regional and locally based, which really makes people feel a sense of ownership over it as well.
Yeah, you mentioned your chain or your anchor stores in the different markets. Who are some of the big ones that you work with, and what was the kind of meals saved from those big chain stores?
So across Europe, we work with basically every large grocer: Carrefour, Aldi, Lidl. They have a couple more years ahead of us, so they have a ton of bigger partnerships. Across the U.S., we will be announcing a really huge partnership that I'm not going to give away here in May 15th. So
stay tuned,
which is very exciting. Yeah, stay tuned. And that'll be our biggest grocery partner to date. We do work with partners, regionally based partners in Texas. We work with the H-E-B's, which is a massive grocery chain. We work with Aldi's and Lidl's actually in New York State as well. We have a number of different locally based partners that have all of their locations on the app. So like Krispy Kreme, which isn't, obviously a grocer, but still has food waste. Tiff's Treats. We have tons of coffee and bakery stores that are regionally based too. So basically, like in California, we'll have all of the Pete's on the app or all of the Phil's on the app. And so that's kind of how the cycle of where those stores get signed gets added onto. We do like to make sure that if we are onboarding a store, that we have a good balance of supply and demand, so that we're not leaving a store kind of orphaned 50 miles away from something else. And so that's why we do that market development period. But we have saved hundreds of thousands of meals from just that sector alone. We will continue to expand that. Our most populous category, though, continuously is baked goods, just because if you can imagine, there's so much bread that typically does get wasted. And so that happens to be, I think, in every market, the number one category. We want to get that grocery category up, though. So we are calling on all grocers who are not yet using us to please join.
The different educational campaigns and initiatives that you launch to help educate people in food waste or other businesses about, utilizing an app like this to sell their food waste and get rid of it instead of throwing it in the garbage. What are some of those initiatives that you launch to kind of educate the masses so that they can kind of fit in the world of reducing food waste?
Yeah, I mean, I've alluded to, we don't want anyone to feel like this is a daunting issue that is so overwhelming that it can't be solved. We do really want people to feel empowered to be part of the solution and to see how simple and easy it is. From a very basic standpoint, in response to your question, we actually work with curriculum across France. And so they have built that into their primary school education, which is very cool. So children are taught about reducing food waste from a very young age, which then just becomes part of their habit forming shopping behaviors and then how they cook at home. We do a lot of education across the channels that we own. So our Instagrams, our email blasts, our LinkedIn's, about how you can reduce waste at home. So we will send out one of the favorite features that our social team does is telling people how they can preserve and extend the life of food that you thought you had to throw away. So things like herbs. You can actually freeze herbs. How do you freeze them effectively? And so we do a lot of, you can opt in for those if you want. If you don't want to know about it, that's fine too. But we do encourage people to just think differently about the habits that they have. So shop your pantry before you go grocery shopping, make meal prep lists so you're only buying items that are actually going to be consumed in that time frame before they do go bad. Think about, what things you have in your fridge that you can consume before that goes bad as well. And then one of the big initiatives that we're working on that is live throughout Europe, which will come to North America soon, is our date labeling project. And what that does is help to educate the public on what those dates on your food actually mean. Most of it is a guidance for when the food is best before, not that it is bad after that date. But I think we have been historically taught that as soon as that date hits, it has to be thrown out. We're working across Europe. We have, I think, over 5 million SKUs that have our label on it, which encourages consumers to look, smell, and taste the food before throwing it out. So use your senses. We'll be bringing that to North America shortly, which is really exciting. And we'll be working with manufacturers, some of whom are not even on the app, but just love the initiative, to help with that because it produces a ton of food waste. A lot of it is a very conservative date so that, obviously people don't get sick from that food, but we just need to kind of bring ourselves back to why does that date exist and what does it really mean, and help people think differently about the food that they've already bought so that they're not throwing it out and wasting that money too.
What do you want to tell people at home listening that basically want to know more about food waste tips, insights? How can they get more information, get into your world, and either contribute by downloading the app or consume your content? What is the number one way that you like to get people, kind of to know the too good to go way?
Well, number one, download the app. It's available in the app and Google Play Store. You just search Too Good To Go. It'll pop right up. You can try it out. Honestly, it's the easiest way to learn about how it works. If you sign up and you do subscribe to our emails and our push notifications, you'll get a ton of great info about how to optimize the app for you in your area. We also share a lot across our Instagram. I think it's the lowest lift, but the most enjoyable and entertaining way to get food waste information, because across there we'll cull from other resources as well. So we love people shopping on the app, and we are super passionate about food waste, but we're not the be all and end all, and we don't imagine that we have a one size fits all solution. We really do want to pull from the best minds working in the field. We work with a lot of local food-based charities, food banks, to talk about the need that they have as well and how we can be kind of resurfacing some of that food to help with the food insecurity problem. But I think there's a lot of fun stuff to be found on the app as well. There's a lot of great things that you can learn. If you browse through within the app, you'll see the kinds of surplus that I think people don't think about. I mean, there's a local pressed juice place near me that I pick up from every day. I favorite it. So if I'm quick enough, I can get from it every time they post. And you just don't think like, oh, right, pressed juices would be food waste as well. Or, even things like my fruit stand, they're on the app every day. And I'm sure for them, prior to using the app, they were throwing out so much great, delicious fruit that just doesn't have, the shelf life that something like a packaged good does. So even just learning and using the app, you start to learn differently. You'll never think about food waste in the same way. You'll never dine out and not take a goodie bag again, which is a hazard of this job, but it's a fantastic way to live because we don't need to be creating that much food waste. Our Old Country director, Sam Kashani, used to have a great saying that he said that we need to reclaim the value of food and the love of food. And if you make the food, you're going to be so much less likely to waste it. And we've just come a little bit far from everything is so convenient and everything is so easy to access. We don't have that touch point. Once you take ownership over something, you're really going to feel that it is you're part of the solution. And I think that ultimately that's what we're hoping to achieve. And if at the end of the day, you save a couple bags on the app too, that's a fantastic way to know that you are making a difference. My one plug for the app is really check out all the different features. There's a button called Me on the lower right-hand corner, and it will show you your individual impact. So it shows you how many dollars you've saved since using the app, and then also some equivalencies for your CO2 emissions avoided, how many cell phone charges it would have taken you, for example, or hot showers or hot coffees. And I think when we put it in that context of things we do every day, we start to realize there is a huge impact to some of these small actions.
Well, I know that I have the Too Good To Go app on my phone. Here, I know I use it. My family uses it. We love it. And I know this video, you're going to see real life examples of us going through the app and how easy it is to kind of order food, pick it up, and especially at some of your favorite locations where people just probably don't realize what the possibilities are of the types of restaurants that you do have ready to go that people can pick up and eliminate food waste. But Sarah, thank you so much for being here. We'll make sure that everybody gets to know Too Good To Go a little bit more after this video, and you're going to get to see our live real-time use of the Too Good To Go app. And we're going to actually be picking up some food here in a minute, and you're going to get to join us throughout the whole process and see how easy it is. So Sarah, thank you so much for being here. This has been a pleasure. And thanks so much for working for such a great company, Too Good To Go, and doing your part to help eliminate food waste.
Thank you very much for having me.